until he's already passed me.
So there's no negative work there?
Only positive.
Only positive.
Only positive. Okay. Okay. So
why use the term negative work?
what we need to do is you need to save your questions till the end. Okay. I'm going to answer this one, but it's better if you. Again, I've been doing these kind of demos since 2007. So chances are I know every question that you have, and by the time the demo is done, most of your questions will be answered. So the reason that we're using the term negative work, again, if you Google Perpetual Motion Machine, it just says work, okay? And that's deceptive, because you cannot perform positive work, acceleration, or negative work, deceleration, without energy, okay? That would be like saying, you know, get your car up to 100 kilometers an hour, and then GATAS says, okay, perform negative work, decelerate the car down to 50 kilometers an hour, but don't use energy. It's impossible. You need energy to squeeze the brake calipers together. You need energy. You need energy to perform positive work, and equally, you need energy to perform negative work. So I won't say the deceptive element, if there is a deceptive element in the engineering or the physics, is that they just say work. But once you put in the term negative work, you have to ask the question, where's the energy coming from to perform the negative work? Because Newton's first law says, accelerate an object or decelerate an object, you need energy in both cases. You can't have positive, you can't say we need energy to accelerate our car, but we don't need energy to decelerate the car. That's not valid. So what we're going to do with this prototype is we're going to bring the system up to speed. This prototype is an education tool. It has a conventional generator coil in it. And when we light this light bulb, and I would suggest if anybody wants to come up, feel free. We'll worry about people getting in the way after. When we light this light bulb, the speed of the system is going to go down. The created electromagnetic field energy around the conventional coil is going to perform negative work. It's going to decelerate, it's going to reduce the kinetic energy of the system. And the prime mover, the induction motor, is going to consume more energy, and it's going to dissipate more power in order to deliver more mechanical power into the generator's drive shaft in order to keep the light bulb lit. If everybody turns on all their lights and all their air conditioners and all their everything, Ontario Hydro has to supply more coal, more wind, more nuclear, whatever, to keep the generators going. In 2020, the world consumed 28,200 trillion watts of electricity from fossil fuels. In order to generate 28,200 trillion watts of electricity with fossil fuels, they needed a minimum 28,200 trillion watts of mechanical input in to drive the generators, because the generators are performing 28,200 trillion watts of negative work, aka counter electromagnetic torque. Now with the RegenX technology, 28,200 trillion watts of electricity, or an infinite amount of electricity can now be generated with 0 watts of mechanical input power to the generator's drive shaft and 0 energy into the prime movers. Okay, so again, if you want to come up, you're free to do so. So what we're going to demonstrate, and Gaetan, maybe you want to, or sorry, Bogdan, maybe what you want to do, just for everybody's sake, I want you to, you're going to monitor the input to the prime mover, okay? So just sort of stand right here, okay? So what I want you to confirm for everybody is that when we light this light bulb using the conventional generator coil, the input to the prime mover is going to go up, okay? That means that the prime mover is going to consume more energy, and it's delivering mechanical power to the drive shaft, okay? I think it's going to go up by 20 watts, okay? And we're going to deliver about 10 watts to the load, okay? So when we put the RegenX coil on load, the input to the prime mover is going to be less than what it was required in order to establish the no-load equilibrium situation at idle, okay, before we engage the coils. It's going to be less. So what that means, and the more power we generate, the greater the reduction in consumption from the prime mover. So that's the violation of the first law of thermodynamics. The prime mover is getting cooler the more power we generate. The numbers are small, but it's still obvious. So the first thing that I'm going to do is bring this prototype up to no load at idle. Okay. Can you tell everybody how much power the prime mover requires to establish no load at idle at rotational equilibrium? 150. 150. Yeah, 150. Don't cheat me out here, bro. 157 watts.
Correct.
To the prime mover.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to put the conventional Faraday electric generator on load. And we're going to observe, we're going to hear a kinetic energy reduction, okay? So the created electromagnetic field energy is going to perform negative work. It's going to reduce the kinetic energy of the system.
Right.
In fact, we can measure the kinetic energy. If we measure, and I've done it, and I have the data, the kinetic energy reduction in joules equals the magnitude of energy that's being created in order to perform the negative work. So Can you tell everybody how much power is being dissipated in the light bulb? This times this, about 10 watts, right?
Yes.
And our prime mover consumption has gone up to 177,
77.
20 watts.
Yeah,
Okay.
20 watts.
So the prime mover is consuming, when it's placed on load, it's consuming 20 watts in order, and it's converting that 20 electrical watts to about 10 watts in order to 10 mechanical watts in order to keep our system going, okay? Now again, just so we know where we're starting at, 157?
Back to 157.
157, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the load current sine wave for the conventional coil,
Yeah.
okay, across the load. Now I'm going to put the RegenX technology on. This is the load current sine wave for the RegenX coil,
Yeah.
and it's delayed in a time delay,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
The voltage across, the power across the load has gone up, correct?
Yes.
And the power to the prime mover is, tell them what it is.
155. 154.
Okay, it's 154,
154.
and it started at 157.
Correct.
Okay, so what that means is that we're generating more power with zero mechanical input watts. If this number doesn't go up, then we're not adding, the prime mover is not adding more, it's zero. We're generating more power with zero mechanical watts, okay? I'm going to put the other coil on because I have two coils in this prototype. And what I'm demonstrating now is the more power we deliver in regenerative acceleration mode, that's what we're in, the more power we deliver to the load, the less we need from the prime mover. Okay? So
152.
we've gone down
151 actually.
151.
151.
We're delivering a little bit more power. And now, previously the load current delay was about 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Now it's 90 degrees.
Yes.
Okay? So we have the RegenX coil is completely reversing the action of the conventional coil. All right?
Yes.
So, again, the conventional generator coil performs negative work with created electromagnetic field energy. It reduces the kinetic energy of the system. I should say the conventional coil, the conventional Faraday generator, Perpetual Motion Machine of the first kind, performs negative work at infinite efficiency with created electromagnetic field energy, and it reduces the kinetic energy of the system. Correct?
Yes.
The RegenX coil performs positive work with created and time-delayed
Yes.
electromagnetic field energy. It performs positive work at infinite efficiency, and it performs positive work and increases the kinetic energy of the system. So now I'm just going to use the RegenX coils as motor coils, and we're going to increase the kinetic energy of the system without externally applied input energy, and violate Newton's first law, and just about every other law that's known. So what's the prime mover at now?
139, 138.
So we went from 156 at idle,
Correct.
we're down at 138.
138.
So if you guys came up and you tried to spin that rotor that's spinning at 3,500 RPM, if you made it go faster, the input to the prime mover would go down. Or if you perform positive work, the input to the prime mover would go down. If you came up here and you perform negative work, like putting your finger on the rotor or whatever, the consumption of the prime mover would go up. Now, what the education system wants to tell you is telling you is that the Faraday generator has the ability to perform negative work without energy. The Faraday generator, this is what the education system says. The Faraday generator has the ability to reduce the kinetic energy of the system for free without energy. That would be like anybody here reducing the kinetic energy of that rotor, reducing the kinetic energy without energy. It's impossible. That's why I use the term negative work. Because negative work, if you just say work, everybody assumes positive work. Everybody assumes acceleration. Everybody assumes kinetic energy increase. When in fact, it doesn't matter if it's a kinetic energy increase or a kinetic energy decrease. If the kinetic energy increase or decrease is the same, the magnitude of work is the same, and the energy required to perform that work is the same. So,
Can you say,
you're violating rules again, mister. You are. Go ahead.
okay,
I like your style.
can you say that the negative work is transformed?
No. There's no, he's trying to finagle here. He's trying to get the law of conservation of energy in there. He's trying to suggest that there's some form of energy conversion when the negative work is being performed. And there is no energy conversion. There's no energy conversion. The reason is because the work is being performed by created electromagnetic field energy and magnetic field energy. And if you look at the field lines of magnetic field energy, they cannot cross. Okay, they can't. Magnetic fields in air cannot. They are in physics. They're immovable walls. Okay, you can't use one magnetic field to diminish the strength of another magnetic field. So there's no energy conversion. We're performing positive and negative work with created electromagnetic field energy, but we are also violating the work energy principle, because the work energy principle says that in order to perform work, you have to have a conversion of energy, like in your vehicle where the gasoline is converted to explosions and heat and whatever. But in in what we're doing here, there's no conversion. We're using created electromagnetic field energy, and we're performing negative and positive work at infinite efficiency. There's no conversion.
But you're eliminating negative work.
Oh, no, we're not. In this prototype, the conventional, the light bulb, okay, the light bulb was still performing the negative, it was still performing negative work, decelerating the system. We were just using the RegenX coils to perform more positive work than the negative work. So we were mathematically, we're performing more positive work than negative work, but we were still performing negative work.
So negative work still exists.
It still exists here. This is an early stage demonstration prototype to show the audience the effect of negative work in Faraday generators and positive work in RegenX generators. Okay. So, next. Next, we're going to demonstrate the RegenX quantum motor, the RegenX alternator, and the RegenX quantum motor. We showed you motor action here, but it was relatively small. Here we're going to show you some serious motor action. Good? Okay. So, every law of physics in the world today says that if we want this motor to go faster, we have to put additional input energy into it. And this is a Faraday electric motor. Now what we're going to demonstrate with the RegenX quantum motor is we're going to demonstrate that we can take this motor that has no electrical input, nothing, and we're going to take this motor and we're going to accelerate that motor. That's pretty much as close as you're ever going to come to like real magic. And so what we're doing again with the RegenX quantum motor is we're using created electromagnetic field energy. We're delaying its creation in the time domain, and we are maximizing the magnitude of work that it performs. And what you're going to see is the more work we perform, the more positive work we perform, the less prime mover consumption is required, and it's even more, it's considerable. So, the RegenX quantum motor also doubles as an alternator. So, Bogdan, if you want to come back again. So we have a battery down here, and what we're going to do is there's 3 modes, okay, that we're going to demonstrate. We're going to demonstrate, the first one is alternator mode, okay? An alternator that would go in your internal combustion engine, that instead of robbing your engine of between 7 and 15 horsepower, it will add 7, 15, 20, 50, 100. That's the first part, the alternator mode. The second part is quantum supercharger mode. Okay, a supercharger that would go into any internal combustion engine and add any magnitude of horsepower to that engine. A motor, an electric motor that can add any magnitude of, can perform any magnitude of work with 0 electric input, okay? And the third part is from an explanation point of view, it's critical, okay? The third part, and you're going to see that in the EV as well, the difference between a Faraday electric generator that performs negative work at infinite efficiency, blah, 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 and a RegenX generator that performs positive work at infinite efficiency, blah, blah, blah. The only difference between the two of them is the frequency of operation of the coil, okay? So what we're going to see in this prototype is when I reduce the frequency of operation of the coil, we're going to bring it down to about, it's going to be running at about 3,200 RPM. When we bring it down to about 1,800, and we do the same thing, put it in generator mode, it's going to stall. It's going to operate like a conventional Faraday generator coil. It's going to decelerate the system. So what that means is that in an EV, at highway speeds, we're recharging, we're accelerating, and the more we recharge, the more we accelerate. When we get below a certain speed, below a certain frequency of operation, we also have regenerative braking, if we want it or if we need it. And when you get into the explanation part, the explanation part has to do with frequency, which has to do with coil impedance, and coil impedance has to do with ability of current to flow. And that's the secret sauce. Okay, so let me grab that chair. So this one is loud, just so everybody knows. Okay. Okay, Bogdan, when the switches are on this side, we're in generator mode. Okay?
Yes.
We'll be sending current to the battery, and we'll be accelerating the system.
All right.
And when the switches are on the other side, we're in quantum motor mode. Okay. Quantum motor mode just means we're performing the maximum amount of positive work, maximum amount of kinetic energy increase with 0